as Wednesday nights go, last night wasn't that bad, was it, Mr. Wilson? What a night. You know, it's funny what happens when there's absolutely no pressure on your performance. And when you get a strike partnership that is made up of, wait for it, two actual strikers. A 4-2 victory over Peterborough takes the Stags to over 50 points in Sky Bet League One on a night where there was a little bit of forward planning too, with Owen Mason making his league debut between the sticks. Will there be more changes come Saturday? Can the Stags get 3 final points this season and end what's been a semi-decent campaign, actually, in reflection, on a high? Get your comments in now, have your say on your team. Let's get right into it then, shall we? In our penultimate episode of the series. Played on repeat. What a clip! What a night at One Call Stadium as well. Hello and welcome to the Mansfield Matters Podcast, the show for the fans, by the fans. Why? Because Mansfield always matters. Thanks so much for joining us for the second time this week. Yeah, we're back again. Just can't get enough of us. Unfortunately, they make the most of it because this is our second to last episode. The last time, however, we will all be in the virtual world this series because the next time you see us, hopefully, touch wood, we will all be together. So let's say hello and good evening to my fellow 4 Staggies who have all seemed to have put together a bit of a uncoded message tonight, and that is wear a Stag shirt. So let's go with the man who has got the most retro of the shirts on tonight. That is Mr. Cam Felton. Evening, Cam.
Good evening.
Let's go to the man who gave us... and I think has gone for the second retro kit tonight, back in the, and Nick will tell me if I'm right later on, 2004-2005 season, away shirt. Nick's nodding. Evening, Mr. Wilson.
Good evening, Craig. Good evening, everybody.
And then me and Clive have gone for the same season. Clive, good evening. You've gone for the red away shirt.
Yes, it fits me better than the other one I tried on. So I'm the incredible shrinking man. I used to buy XLs. I don't need them anymore.
And I grabbed last season's home shirt because it was a promotion-winning shirt, and it was the nearest thing to me. And I realised a minute before going live that I needed to put a shirt on because this is not OnlyFans. Good evening, everyone. The man who hasn't got a Stag shirt on, but let's be honest, he doesn't need to put a Stag shirt on because he's got about 184. Evening, Nick.
I think we've gone past 200, I think, now. But yes, I've gone for the last time we were in League One, albeit it wasn't very successul. But yeah, that's what I've gone for, behind me somewhere there.
Great choices.
Are we running out on Facebook tonight?
We are.
It's all right, I'm not getting it.
Well, you just need to refresh the page. I can see it. I've got it. We are live. Anyway,
cooking.
We are cooking. We're away. See, Clive, he's on it. He was too busy changing his shirt and thinking about Alan's hamper, which is another conversation for another day. Alan, let's get straight into it.
I've got the hamper, by the way.
Oh,
Alan.
Excellent.
I can show you the hamper if you want to see it.
Don't show it us yet. We'll play a lovely game with the hamper later on. Alan, it was a great night, and of course you got to do this. Let's be honest, it was a performance that none of us were expecting.
Oh, I don't know. I wouldn't say none of us. I'd gone down for a 2-1 win. I'm always confident and hopeful. But when I saw the team last night with Evans back in and, Marison playing a further forward role, I was surprised he didn't play Vickers from the start. But, I mean, it didn't particularly matter. Dwyer played really well. And, it was just a good performance, I thought. There could have been more than 3 up at half time. And it was just a pleasure to watch. I'm surprised that, I don't know whether they did sing it, but I'm surprised the Stags, I didn't hear it, singing, "Can we play every week?" Whenever we play Peterborough, we do well.
I did hear it in the upper
Oh,
seat.
no,
I have to admit, I did hear
I
it. Yeah.
didn't, but yeah, fair enough.
Nick, you mentioned last night in the group chat. Isn't it funny what happens when you've got two strikers who are actually strikers?
Yeah.
And it was the partnership we didn't know we needed, but the partnership we wanted to see more of. Evans and Dwyer, Evans and Tumble.
Yeah, they were brilliant. They pressed, didn't they? They're really high, and I think the fact that he left Reed a bit sort of further back and then let Bacchus and Maris push up. We kind of had four really up front for a period of time, and they couldn't handle it. They were making so many mistakes trying to pass out the back, just thanks to Evans and Dwyer pressing. And yeah, it just showed a difference. You have two up front. One up front does not frighten teams, especially at our level. That the strikers aren't good enough. But you put two up front, and then you have two players as good as Maris and Bacchus was last night. It's going to scare any team, and I think that was the difference. Is that we had way more up front than they had.
Yeah, they did. Cam, we've had arguments on this podcast before over many things, really, mainly because it's my favourite sport. But one thing we have discussed this season, I've been very firmly in Team Nick with this, is tactics. And you have to say last night, tactically, he got it right. But, and here's the big but, we've been trying to play that for weeks and weeks and weeks, but we just haven't got it right. And last night was an example of what happens when you do get it right.
Yeah, and a contributing factor was no glaring mistakes. I think the only negative I'd probably have said from the entire game was that just defensively not solid enough for the two goals, which, if that's the only negative we can take out of last night, it's a very positive one. But like we keep saying, it's amazing what you can do when you've got no pressure. And like Bacchus have done that a couple of weeks ago. Like, it's frustrating to watch, but it just shows the amount of talent this team actually does have. And Nigel Clough hit nail on the head in his post-match. Nobody wanted to get anything wrong in the previous few weeks, months. Whereas now the pressure's off, they can just go out and play.
I think that's a big point, Clive, isn't it? The fact that you did feel that vacuum of pressure had absolutely lifted, and you could sense the players were almost playing with the freedom which they had when they were wearing these shirts.
Yeah, I mean, a number of factors came in last night. One was that we played with more freedom because there was no jeopardy involved. Secondly, I thought the team played better around the rookie goalkeeper, which was good to see. Apart from we were a bit weak down the right-hand defence, they got a pretty good young bloke playing down that side. We were a better team than them. And I think that's the final bit is, and it's not wanting to sound negative, but they weren't a very good side.
Sorry, I was just turning my fan back on. It went off.
I was saying they weren't a very good side. I mean, they struggling for squad depth, probably more than many teams in this league. And, I know somebody who supports them, and he said, they've been putting kids in when they really shouldn't be doing, because that's what they've had to resort to. But nonetheless, to go 3 goals up in fairly brisk fashion is a novelty for us. Can't remember the last time we scored 4. When was it? Somebody tell me.
I can't remember the last. It would have been last season. We've certainly not done it this year.
It was last season.
Well, was it Milton Keynes away?
Yeah, it would have been. Yeah, it would have been MK Dons away. Yeah. Nick, we often talk about tactics, as we say, and like I mentioned to Cam there, it did seem to go right last night, because we seem with the wing back situation, rather than sort of sitting as a 5 and sort of the wing backs being penned in, if you like, they had the freedom to go forward and make it almost at a 4 across midfield, and you could really sense that, particularly in the opening half an hour before Dave obviously ruled himself out for the rest of the season and had to go off, with Hewitt and with Bowery pushing on down that side, and with McLaughlin down the other side as well, and the interchange there, it seemed to really, really, really work.
Yeah, I think he said in his pre-match that they've been trying to play 3-5-2 and it just hadn't worked. And I think last night was the most obvious 3-5-2 we've had. And I think the subtle switch of Bowery and Hewitt around gave us so much more width, because Hewitt had been a bit offensively lacking recently, and Bowery was my man of the match yesterday. I think he got voted man of the match, didn't he, in the end? He was superb, and I think but having the 2 forwards pressing just forced them into errors that we would normally make, and then it gave more freedom for the whole of the team, and other than the goals, wouldn't really get threatened that much. But I think certainly making it more of a 3-5-2 than a 5-3-2 or 5-4-1 that it's been made a massive difference. And we had so much more offensive play. If you look at Baxter's goal, for example, it was Barry winning the ball down there in their sort of corner that actually led to that goal. And he was only there because he was playing higher up pitch. Had we played the last couple of weeks, he'd have been, on the halfway line. So sort of tweaks have obviously worked. And he got the personnel right up front as well.
I wouldn't say it's an overkill change, Alan, but what I would say is there are certainly encouraging seedlings there. However, there were also the glaring marks of this season, in fact, which says that we don't have the strength in depth, because we were, I would say, near perfect for the first 25, 30 minutes until Dave's injury. And when Dave got injured and had to go off, the movement across and shifting players around, that really hampered us. And that's when they really started to come back into the game, particularly down that right-hand side, with Keanu Bacchus having to go further across and play wider in midfield. He much suited that more central, free reigning role.
I would agree 100% with that, but I also think a positive out of that came Quinny. I thought Quinny played really well, and there were shades of him and Macca playing together down the left. What we saw last season, which was nice to see. And I know he's had a good rest, but he kept going. For the time that he was on, I think he thoroughly enjoyed it. But yeah, and I would agree with Nick about Barry. Barry suits that position where he's bombing on, because he has got pace, and when he's got his mindset, it will take a man on, and beat him, which we saw last night. It was very good.
And I think with that as well, Cam, you saw the glimpses of Elliot Hewitt of pass, getting there and supporting him, going into almost that supporting right wing back role and giving him that option, and then the midfield mixed in with it quite well. I felt like Elliot Hewitt had a decent run last night as well in various positions.
Yeah, and I think it's a case of we didn't, same again with multiple different players coming back from big injuries. We didn't know sort of like the player that we were going to get from Elliot Hewitt. Obviously, he came back towards the end of last season. Did he pick up an injury during pre-season?
Yeah, missed pre-season, did he?
To still be seeing glimpses of the best version of the players that we've got is fantastic. And obviously it's now at the point where we're like, right, well, now they're probably out of contract. Is that then a risk to then keep them on? And it's just frustrating, because it's point proven that we can play some good football. All right, we've done it the very hard way, but with this team this season have shown that they are capable of playing. We've just been ravaged by injuries, and keeping some players are fit is crucial in that. You look at players like Stephen McLaughlin, who's been, same again, not 100% the Macca that we know, but very close to it. Elliot Hewitt's another one. Jordan Bowery, I don't know what he's doing, because he seems to be getting better with age. It's just frustrated that we were in this position when we know we've got so much talent on that pitch. And last night was, I think, a lot of players letting off steam, and we just went out and played. And like you said, we saw the best of the ability that we have got.
Yeah, absolutely. We will certainly push on, and we'll be talking about the goalkeeper situation in a little bit. I know Clive's itching to talk a changing guard between the sticks, but I think one thing was evident last night, Nick, was the fact that players were not just playing with a little bit of freedom, but they were also playing with that light bulb moment of, I might have contract in a couple of weeks' time. I either need to put myself in the shop window and earn a deal here, which would be ideal, or I need to earn a deal elsewhere. I know you've been doing a little bit of a deep dive into who's got what. So fill us in from your little sheet, and let's have a little tot up, shall we, and sort of between us try and figure out who Nigel Clough might be having a look at, who we, in an ideal world, would like to look at, because I think it's fairly obvious now, 99% sure in my mind, that come 3 p.m. Saturday, Nigel Clough, there'll be an announcement saying Nigel Clough is staying on for another year. So it's all about forward planning.
It is. I do wonder if some of the players have now, maybe they weren't sure whether Clough would stay or go, and now it's dawned on them that he's staying. They've all of a sudden gone, oh crap, I've got to perform now. thinking, well, maybe he might go, maybe he might stay. It's not, and then all of a sudden he's pretty much committed that he's going to stay. And all that, they've got to suddenly perform for him, haven't they? And there's maybe an element of that. The list that I've got that I know are under contract is obviously Dave Fraser, Blake Tracy, if we forgot that we had him, Backus and Evans. They're the 4 that I know are under contract because they obviously signed longer term deals last year. I don't know who's got an option because that makes it slightly more difficult. But other than obviously the low knees, Rhodes, Vickers, Craig and Wayne, we've got Mason, Pym, Flinders, Cargill, Kilgore, Flint, McDonald, Hewitt, Williams, Reid, Boateng, Quinn, Lewis, other Quinn, Oates, Gregory, Dwyer, Bowery, Akins, Maris, McLaughlin and Gale, all out of contract. So that's quite a lot. We have got options on some of them, but obviously we can only speculate that, did Flint sign a 2-year deal with an option? I would have thought so. The guys who signed a 1-year deal last year, like Macca and a few others, would they have maybe had an option? And Bowery? I think it's difficult to know which players that Clough will keep. I think for me, there's some obvious ones in there: Reid, Cargill, Gregory if he's fit, Bowery, Maris, and McLaughlin for me would be the obvious ones. I mean, I'd love to see Dwyer get a contract. I think he's earned a year. He's earned a pre-season and a go for me. I think that's what he's earned at the very least, is to have a go. If we're happy to keep players like Oates on the basis that they might get fit, Dwyer's done way more to earn something. So for me, I would certainly give him a contract. So I don't know what the rest of you guys think about, them sort of 7 players, the one I'd pick. There are a few that I think are a bit up in the air for me. Pym is one. I think Flinders will go. I think Pym is an interesting one. He will definitely have an option. But then you've got the likes of Hewitt and Aaron Lewis. They're 2 that I'm not 100% sure of. I think they could go both ways. Hewitt's, it's just his fitness for me. I mean, I know a lot of people said he didn't get a pre-season this season, which I get. But I think Clough will keep him. But the likes of Boateng, I think, will go. Ben Quinn, maybe. I don't know. People know. James Gale is an interesting one. Like, are we going to offer him something? But yeah, I don't know what the people think about those sort of fringe players. Is it maybe? Is it not? Are there any there that we think wouldn't want to sign? I think most would if they were offered. I would think.
Yeah, I think most would if they were offered. Let's have a look at players that we would keep in the squad. Clive, I'll start with you. Who would you like to see retained for next season?
Well, you've got to start with Dave, haven't you? I mean, are you assuming Dave's
contracted?
Because
yeah,
he's contracted, right? Okay.
Yeah,
he's contracted. Yeah, all the 4 that signed last season are contracted.
So where's Bowery in there? Is he out of contract?
He's out of contract, yeah.
Well, I'd keep Bowery. What about Macca?
So everybody bar for
everybody.
Dave, Fraser, Blake, Tracy, Backs and Evans are out of contract.
Right.
Do you want me to come back to you?
No, there's a case for saying yes to them all, and you can't do that. The squad needs refreshing. It's going to be a tough call. I think some of the players that some of us like are going to go. That's a fact. It's really doesn't matter what we think at the end of the day. It's what Clough and Co think. And I think we do need. I mean, he said 6 players. I think he said in his interview. I think that's a minimum because we quite clearly didn't have the depth in the squad. In a squad that's prone to injury, if you can eliminate the injury situation, we're fine. But we can't. So I'm not equipped to answer your question properly. Craig.
Fair play, Cam. Who would you keep hold of out of those who are out of contract? If you were Nigel Clough, bearing in mind that I think he will get some budget, but I don't think it won't be the all singing or dancing budget which we all want and desire. It will be similar to this year. Who would you retain?
Probably looking at most of the players that started that game. Like your Bowerys, your Hewitts, your McLaughlin, your Maris. Yeah, it's a difficult one to answer, to be honest, because like we say, if we could get everybody fit, we keep thinking like, imagine the damage that someone like Rhys Oates could have done last night, but you can't count on it because you don't know if he's going to be fit. And I think it's even a risk with Lee Gregory. You don't know what sort of player he's going to come back to be. I'd love to keep him, obviously, out-and-out goal scorer. It's something that we've craved for a very long time, an out-and-out goal-scoring striker. but it's another one that he's got to stay fit. And I'd like to think he's done enough to earn himself a contract as long as he can stay fit. But then you look at some players like James Gale, he's not really developed for us. And then same again, because we've gone up and then he's then dropped a division into the National League. All right, it's done well. But then same again, we'd just be offering him a contract to then loan him out to League One. And is that the way forward? Obviously, it doesn't take a space in our squad if he does go out on loan. But is that then running the risk of, if somebody else gets injured, we're having to recall him and use him, and that is taking up a squad space? It's just a lot of little caveats, and like Clive said, I'm not equipped to answer that question. There's too much to think about.
Certainly is. I think with the Clough thing at the minute sort of still hanging over our head, even though we know 99% he's going to be staying, it is an interesting one. Roy in the comments, though, Alan, says, Hewitt, Williams, Macca, Cargill and Lewis to keep. Would like to extend Vickers' loan too. Is there anyone who jumps off the paper for you, Alan, about who you would start straight away? A lot of the comments are talking about Dom Dwyer and potentially giving him another year. I'll read some of those in a second. He's been impressive, to be fair. I don't think I'd be too disheartened if we did offer him another deal. I think if I had a choice between him and Oates, as much as I love Oates for the sentiment, the better player is Dom Dwyer.
I think, did you say Gregory was under contract?
No, out of contract.
Oh. So I just wrote a few down in my sort of what I'd like to see. I put Cargill, Marius, Macca, Reed, Barry, Hewitt, Dwyer, Gregory. I've got question mark with Lewis. I like Lewis, but sometimes he drifts out. But I do like Lewis. When he's on his game, he can play. And also I've put a question mark about Williams. Another cracking little player, but, injury prone, or it's just one of them things, isn't it? You can't keep them all. If Nigel said he wants 6 or 7, you can understand that, because most of them, like Cam said, most of the players that played last night, when they're performing to a place, where we've got 2 up front and the system that works, you can understand it.
One player that I think that Clive would be saying goodbye to is Christy Pym. He's made no attempt to hide his dislike for Pym this year, or disappointment in Pym this year. That's probably a better way.
I don't dislike him dislike him at all.
Disappointment.
I just think he's let us down, and I think it's his physicality that lets him down. He's actually as tall as he needs to be, but he doesn't look it because his strange body shape. I mean, he's got big, broad shoulders. I mean, his arms don't go up in the air properly. He is a bit of a phenomenon. He's really good at shot stopping in close quarter, and his distribution is fine. He doesn't dominate the box. He doesn't seem to liaise well with the defensive lineup. Stark contrast last night, young Mason was giving orders out right, left and centre. That shows a sign of confidence, in my opinion. And the goalkeeper should be doing that. But I don't think Mason's ready. I think that's the problem that Clough has got. He trusts Pym, and Pym's probably one of the highest paid players as well. There's a lot to be said for a bit of a switch around at the back.
There is.
And if you don't use Mason, if you just keep him in your back pocket, you've got to let him go out somewhere. It's not fair to him otherwise. And if you're going to let him go out, you still need 2 more keepers.
Yeah, he's gone out a couple of times this season, Nick, hasn't he? And he's had mixed reports. I liked the look of him last night. I thought he handled his debut very, very well. And what I liked particularly was not necessarily his shot stopping, was his kicking, his distribution. While some of them did sort of go out in the stands, he got a very long kick on him, which is good for getting us up the pitch and getting us in behind, which I think with players like Dom Dwyer and Will Evans, I think that brings out more in them. However, another thing that I liked about him, Nick, was when you're playing that back 3 and you are using your wing backs to push on them as midfielders, you need an extra defender, and that doesn't always have to be a midfielder. That can be your goalkeeper. And I thought Owen Mason did that quite well last night as well. He stepped across a couple of times, gave Dave some options, gave Hewitt some options as a pass, which they used him, and then got us up the pitch. However, I do agree with some of the comments which are being said. He's a good evolving shot stopper and a good emerging shot stopper, but I don't quite think he's number 1 standard as yet.
What about?
No, it's a tough one, isn't it? With it's a tough one with Mason. We're a bit of a crossroads with him, aren't we? He's getting to that sort of age where I know goalkeepers can go on forever, but he kind of needs to be playing, doesn't he? Flinders isn't going to be here, is he? Let's be honest. And I think, as much as I completely agree with Clive, I think the goalkeeping situation could be improved. I think we'll probably see Pim here next year. Klopp's got a decision to make, though, but I just don't think Mason's quite. If we were in League Two, I think you could probably take a gamble on Mason and go, look, we believe in you, we trust you, have a season in goal and see how it goes. But League One's just another level, isn't it? And I know at Gateshead he started really well, and then they kind of wanted him out because he was making too many mistakes. But it all depends. If we can't find anybody better than Pim, then we have no choice but to keep him, aren't we? I know people say Nathan Bishop, but Bishop had the same issues that Pim's having. He would randomly just let goals in from anywhere, and you go, well, how have you let that in? For me, I don't see Bishop being any better than Pim. Personally, I think they're very similar, and they both have similar flaws. If we're going to keep Pim, I think Mason, but you got to play him. So if you say to him, look, you're a cup goalkeeper, you're going to play all the FA Cup, the bloody pizza car, auto windscreen, freight rover trophy games. There's at least 3 games there. You've got the Carabao, but the problem with Pim's been that no one's been there to push him. So if Cloughie doesn't see Mason as a viable starter, then you're going to have the same problem where Pim's not really got any competition. So it's a very difficult one. I don't think we're quite in a full position being where we are to make the decision. But he was great last night. That's all we can say, I guess.
Alan, you were saying what about, and then
what about if Nigel does keep Christy Pim? What about keeping Mason as well and letting him fight over it? Let him prove his worth. Because like Nick said, he's 21 now. I mean, look what happened to, I know I keep saying it, but look what happened to Nicky Weaver. He came on in leaps and bounds, and look where he ended up. And he was only a young lad. You've got to give him a start sometime. I know it weren't forced on him last night, but, he played. We've got nothing to lose. He'll probably play Saturday as well. And give him both the pre-season. And, let him fight for the shirt if Flinders does go.
For me, I wouldn't be too disheartened if Flinders stepped up to be number 1 and Pim went and Mason was number 2 pushing him. There's no harm in looking. However, I do feel like Marie said in the comments that, and I'm sure I've heard this as well, that Mason, if he is here next year, will probably go out on loan again. It's just about the level he goes to. I disagree, though. I think there are keepers that are as good as Pim that are available, probably for less money. The thing with goalkeepers, you have to get your head around, is the fact that when they're 21, 22, 23, they're nowhere near their peak. They come into the peak at the Clough bracket, 35 onwards. So it's an interesting scenario. And of course, if all else fails, we could just sign Jordan Bowery as backup keeper. We'll give it a go. It's absolutely fine. Let's delve into some of your comments then, shall we? Martin says all injury-prone players have to go. Gregory and Oates included. Lee says Mason will be our number 2, but he needs to play. Gambling with Gregory says Roger, injury-prone and a year older would get you some wins. So overall, a yes. Dave says, Alan, I'd keep Lewis over Reed. Mason needs to be our number 2 and I'd get Bishop back. It's no secret that he wants to come back. Mark says, I like McDonald. So do I. Their chicken selects are absolutely scrumptious. Oh, that's McDonald's. Sorry. Carl says...
You're not sorry at all.
You're right. I'm begging for that sponsorship deal. Carl says Lee Gregory will be all right. Same as Andy Cook at Bradford. I can't see him slowing down after an ACL injury at Bradford. We will see him around here next season if they get promoted on Saturday. I like the look of Dwyer, says Lee. Would be nice if he was fitter, but yes, he's not played most of the season. If Oates wasn't as injury prone, then yes, keep, but cannot waste another squad place on him again. I liked the look of the partnership last night, Cam, between Tumble and Evans. I thought for the first time, I know he's come back and had a point to prove. He scored twice for us last night as well. I thought that we saw the best of Will Evans as well, dropping deep to get the ball, some lovely little touches, some lovely little passes, a threat in the air, a threat with shots from long range. I just felt really sorry for him when Clough dragged him off in the pre-arranged substitute. Are we going to get a hat-trick this season? I'd have been fuming if I was Will Evans, not going to lie.
Honestly, Nigel Clough, you are a bad man. Taking a striker off when he's on a hat trick. There's just some unspoken rules that you don't do in football, and that's one of them. Will Evans was very much back to his best last night. I think Nigel hit the nail on the head. He's been running on empty for the last few weeks, and getting that injury was maybe a blessing in disguise for him. It's let him get fit, re-energise, and obviously frustrating for us because he's a player that we definitely could have utilised in the last couple of games where could have done with a win. But I think it's just going back to the case of just having the right player alongside him. He looked lost as soon as he lost Gregory, and then playing Aikens up there with him, or playing Wayne or Rhodes, or it's just for whatever reason it's not clicked with anybody else. And obviously Dom's come in, and this is the first time they've played together, isn't it? They started together. Yeah. So to say that was the first time they'd played a league match together, that's a dangerous little partnership. Definitely one that's worth keeping an eye on. And I think, like Dom Dwyer, I think it was a case of we needed to bring somebody in, and he's very much a similar sort of player to Gregory, and we've noticed him being missing, but not just for his presence, but for the side of the game that Will Evans feeds off, somebody to feed off and interchange his play with, and it was definitely enjoyable to watch him. And I feel sorry for Will because he also didn't come off every time last night, but it's good, and I think it's a little bit frustrating because I think like you look at someone like James Gale could play a similar sort of role, but it's just not close to being there yet, and I don't think we'll be there for quite a while. There's maybe a couple of the younger players that could do a job, but not in the same way that we've been missing somebody like Lee Gregory.
Indeed. Let's turn our attention to the final game of the season then. Obviously, last night we saw Owen Mason get an opportunity between the sticks. We have obviously got a few injury worries and a few things like that. And one thing which, Clive, you've spoken about all season is when are we going to see the fruits of the labour of the academy? We've got absolutely nothing to lose on Saturday. And, you know, with players playing for their future and things like that, there's a good opportunity for a couple of the younger players, especially those who've been involved with the under-23s, under-21s, whichever category it falls in on, whichever week it is, because I swear down it changes every week. There's a good opportunity for them to maybe get 45 minutes, an hour on Saturday, isn't there?
Yeah, I was a bit surprised there weren't a couple on the bench last night, to be honest. But, you know, Clough has this view that it takes a while for players to come through the mincer and come out the other end, and they're not ready yet. And if that's an accurate assessment, we have to accept that. I personally think you're never going to get players to play unless you allow them to. And that just means taking a chance on some of them sometimes, and whether it's Abdullah or one of the other two or three stars that have emerging in that group. And I also think they don't get enough competitive football behind the first team. I mean, that's not nobody's fault. It's just that we don't have that,
isn't it?
We don't have that system anymore, and you get pool games, and that's about it. I don't know. I think going back to what we were talking about strikers just for a second, because the big question is Gregory going to be recovered? And if he's going to be recovered, is he going to be able to continue to play at the level we need him to? The same question you levy at Oates. I believe that Oates firing on all four cylinders is better than Dwyer, but that's an opinion. What you can't afford to do is to, as somebody's already said, you can't afford to have a couple of invalids on the payroll like we have this year. It blocks progress on the pitch, and it also blocks progress for would-be alternative players. So if there's one problem that sums up our season, it's injuries, and that's got to be something we've got to do better at going forward. Now, how you do that, God only knows. But whether it means bringing a few youngsters on who've got more flexible bones, I don't know.
Yeah, certainly an interesting one. There's an opportunity there. And I think for me, Nick, and this might sound a weird thing to say, and I think people might sit back for a minute and spit the tea all over the place and go, Craig, what on earth are you on about? But I look at Peterborough United's model over the last 3-4 seasons, so, and I'm thinking, do you know what? That's actually not a bad benchmark for where we want to be. They are very good at bringing players in for next to no money, developing them over the course of 1, 2, 3 seasons and selling them on for big profit, and also doing the same by bringing them through the academy system and playing the youngsters and sort of giving them the opportunity to go on. And when I talk about progressing young players on, I don't mean, selling them to a club that's in the Champ or lower end Premier Division or whatever, and they're going to go on to be big stars. It could be somebody like Alfton Town who buys them, or a National League side or whatever. We're still getting the money and we're still getting the results of that, and I think that's still a good thing for us to do. I mean, you look at examples like Alistair Smith for a while dropped into the National League and has worked his way back up, and I would say has been a success of what we've done. But Peterborough's model, if you look at the last couple of seasons prior to this one, they've been up there in and around it. They've been a stable League One side, always chomping away. They've won cup competitions year after year, this season and the season prior. And the only difference this season, why they've dropped off and been the lower end, is because they've come to the end of the cycle in terms of those older, more experienced players and had to rely on a few more younger ones to come through. They've had a year's experience now, and mixed in with some good signings in the summer, there'll be a good challenge inside again. Why can't we adopt that model? Maybe we are looking to do.
Yeah, maybe we are. I think it's a perfect time as well with so much experience. It's, you remember Baptiste coming through, he's so raw, but then he started playing with pros, and we brought players like Bucco through in the relegation season. You think, well, it obviously made them, didn't it, play along with those better players? And the problem with Mansfield is we normally play young people out of necessity, don't we? We play them when we haven't got enough of a team. It was pure luck that Lawrence and Disley and Williamson and Hassel all came through at once, is because the side was poor and we needed players. So we played them and went, oh, these are actually quite good. But one thing Peter been very successful at doing is signing players from non-league, and we don't do that. We've signed a couple from non-league. I mean, you look at Ollie Palmer, as much as we hate him, he went on to score a lot of goals in the Football League after we signed him. And I think it's a good market to look at. I know Clough looks at other markets, Scotland, for example, but the non-league market, I think especially the local one, isn't tapped into very well by Mansfield. We don't necessarily do a great job of attracting players from non-league, especially younger ones as well. But I'd love to see the young lads play. I think it's a bit of a cop-out from Clough saying, it needs 10 years, because that just gives him the excuse not to play him. It's a real get-out.
The major difference between... Sorry, mate, I'll talk over you, but the major difference between Peterborough and ourselves, over the last decade or so, Peter's had a procession of managers. It's like swing doors for Ferguson. But what they've had as consistent in all that time is Barry Fry.
Yeah. And
Barry Fry has been an expert at wheeling and dealing in the lower leagues. And I'm guessing he's still doing it now.
He sold us.
And that
he's a very good salesman, because he sold us Leon Goll and Shaq Coulthurst and made them sound good.
We haven't got a Barry Fry. We haven't even got anyone in that position, have we? So,
exactly.
We're relying on we're relying on the Cloughs, aren't we?
We've got a different construct, haven't we? We've elected to go the way we've gone, and that we have to work with that. But that's the big thing, I think. And I'm not a huge fan of Barry Fry. I think he's a bit of a twat at times, but he's consistent. He's been there for 20 odd years now. He comes from a lower league background. He's down to earth. He knows the value of a quid. And I think Darren, what's-his-face, who owns the club, has a lot of faith in him. So there you go.
Alan,
I think we'd all like to see the young lads, though, wouldn't we? I think that's the thing. Just you don't know they're good enough.
Sparingly.
Yeah, you can't throw 10 in at once. But if you don't play them, they will never be good enough, because by default your brain keeps saying, that they're not good enough. You have to, at some point, you've got to commit to throw them in. Otherwise, there's no point. What's the point?
Well, I think there is a probably a good reason why the midfielders don't break through, and they might get the opportunity next year, Alan, because it's looking ever so likely that, hello there, I'm Uncle Stephen, I'm back. I played really, really well last night, and I probably played my last game Saturday.
Is he Welsh?
Who was that then?
What Geordie players are we?
I would agree.
Do you know what? All of you bar Allen. Everyone bar Allen. Get out. Straight red.
Anything?
I mean, I know I've been a Stags fan for quite a number of years, as you all know, but I just hark back to the times of such as Paul Holland. Dutch, he was 18 when he came in. And look what sort of a career with Mansfield he had. And who he went on to play for, Sheffield United, etc. You know, it's if they're good enough, they're old enough. And I'm sure Nigel talks to Chats and, you know, McFarlane down there and everybody else that's the gaffers down there. And there's obviously a reason that they're not quite coming through yet. But I think give them time and they will come through. That Abdullah, he did look a hot prospect until he got injured. You know, it might be taking him a while to get over that, you know, same as the others do for the senior players. But I firmly believe that it will happen. And we'll
Roger
reap
King
the
can
reward
say-
if it's only one.
Roger King can stay. He said that sounded all right. So anyone that, you know, he might be a podcaster next year. One of you like might be gone. You're all playing for your contracts. You're all on 1-year deals. You're all playing for extensions here. I might finally release that Nathan Edge, and Cam Felton's coming close to being gone.
Free up some
After
wages,
loads,
Craig, for the rest of us. Free up
That's
some
it.
wage budget.
Free it up, guys. Free it up.
But just be on a serious note, Clough has said he wants to recruit younger players to bring the average age down. And how they do their business during the summer is going to be a measure of that intention, isn't it?
Yeah,
A
certainly is.
34-year-old will bring the age down, though. That's the problem.
I'll get me boots.
Well, in all fairness, they have recruited older players, and then by and large, those older players have served us all right.
Definitely.
You know, but it's about the mix. It's about the ingredients. If you're going to have old players, you've got to have some young players to do the legwork. You know, and I think
Bit like this podcast.
Steve Hymas has got a view that there should be a product coming out of his academy, and he's closer to it than anybody I know. But ultimately, he don't pick the team. It's Mr. Clough.
Let's talk Stephen Quinn, because last night, Cam, he looked like the Stephen Quinn of old. He had that hunger, he had that fire, he had, you know, all the zip and zest about him that he had in previous years. You know, he's been out, he got back on the pitch. He said that he's not quite sure about what he's going to be doing next season yet, whether he wants to continue playing, whether that be with us or at a lower level or go into the coaching side of things. But let's just say for Saturday, we never do this. We very rarely get to say goodbye to players because we don't know who's staying or who's going until it's all over. But with Stephen Quinn, you can sort of guess that it's either going to be goodbye from us as a player or goodbye, full time as a player. There's a good opportunity to give him a good send-off on Saturday, and that is by giving him a certain armband and letting him lead the team out, and after 60 minutes, taking him off and letting him have the standing ovation, which he will definitely get, even if he scores 19,000 own goals.
Yeah. I mean, not on Stephen Quinn, but talking about Nigel Clough. I was on BBC Radio Nottingham before the game. And
Red card.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Oh, yellow.
Yellow, I'll take that.
Very, very lenient, that.
And the question came up about Nigel Clough obviously being out of contract, and it is exactly the same as Quinny. I'd like to know before Saturday what's happening, because per se, if Clough decided that he didn't want to stick around, we need the opportunity to say thank you as fans. That is exactly the same for Mr. Quinn. So, as much as we probably don't want Quinny to leave, he's been a fantastic servant. He's by far our biggest cheerleader on the sidelines. Could probably outrun 90% of the squad, even at the age of 37, 38, comfortably.
39.
Is he 39?
I think he's 39, yeah.
I get me pension next week.
So it could easily happen.
That Welshman's come back.
He's better than his Scottishman anyway. Anyway.
You'll be getting a red card, have you? Oh, here it is.
Right, I'm not taking any of it. Get out.
That's better.
There we go. Right. Oh dear. I don't know if I should bring
Well,
it back
let's
now or not. Anyone else want to have a go? Do you two want to have a go?
I love this podcast.
I've always said I thought your Uncle Stephen was very good. I've always said that.
I'll let Clive back in, but I'll let you behind the scenes. We have a little private chat here where we can sort of say, we're going to talk about this next. And Mr. Felsham has just called the referee a W word. So I'm not. He's
A
gone.
wonderful man.
It's a ban.
He's gone. And do you know what else I'm going to do? I'm going to let him back in a second. And if there's not a grovelling apology from him, he will be red carded from the Let's Get Quizzical final, and there might be a reprieve for somebody else.
No, it's a bye. It's a bye. Straight winner.
Good evening. We are now on the eighth season of Mansfield Matters, and it is by far the greatest Mansfield Town orientated fan forum podcast. You name it, we are the best. And
by virtue of being the only one. But,
again.
Yeah. You know, that's...
What a slimy, grovelling apology.
we are just
rubbish.
If it wasn't for Craig and Nathan tapping Alfreton away many years ago, we'd have never known that it was going to be the best one on here. So credit to Nathan and Craig. They are an inspiration.
This is getting slimy now.
Yeah,
I need
him off.
I need to take a break because I'm going to be sick. You're back with the show for the fans, by the fans. Why? Because Mansfield always matters, as it has done for the past 8 series. Series 9 next season. Series 9. Oh, and you can expect way more of this as well. This top quality content coming your way. Right, let's finish things off by looking finally ahead to Saturday's final home game with Exeter. Clive, we mentioned it a little bit before the break there, and that is having the opportunity to say thank you and goodbye if we need to. I think that 99% it will be a new contract will be signed. But either way, how important is it for the fans looking at it as a journey to have that news delivered before 3 o'clock on Saturday afternoon?
I'm not sure that we've had any entitlement to know what's happening behind the scenes. I think they should keep us better informed on everything they do. But we're all intrigued as to what's happening on the Clough thing. I mean, every bit of news that's coming out of the Clough spokesperson, and that's usually himself, is saying, oh, we had a really good and productive meeting with the owners. Well, you don't come out of a very good and productive meeting with the owners where a number of issues were settled and then leave. I just think it's been pretty obvious to me, and I could be wrong, but it's pretty obvious to me, the chances of him leaving were very slight. And I don't think anybody should be whittling about it. And as for saying goodbye to people who are paid a lot of money to do what they do, that's just sentimental rubbish. If they go in, they go in. Let them go.
Sentimental rubbish, Alan Wilson, is the words from Clive Parkin. I don't think I'm not quite sure you'll agree.
Now, a bit harsh, I think, that, Clive, especially on people.
I've got your hamper.
Everybody's got their own opinion, which is fair. You know, it's fair play. You pay your money, you take your choice. But I would certainly give a good send off to Uncle Stephen, without a doubt. 100.
The realism is, Nick, that all of them have earned the right to have a thank you, haven't they? I think you saw that last night when some of the players came off, but moreover, I think it's particularly Uncle Stephen and possibly Clough.
Yeah, I think mainly around Quinn, isn't it? I think it'd be bad if he did leave afterwards and we couldn't say thank you, unless he's got an hour of stand up lined up at Stags Fest, which I can't see. Then we're not going to see him again, are we? So yeah, I think it's him, really, isn't it? You know, the Boateng fan club would be a lonely get together, wouldn't it, if he leaves?
Do you know what the
just clap him slowly off the pitch?
I know. Do you know what the Boateng fan club final goodbye would be, Nick? Do you know what it'd be? It'd be this.
Oh my God, it's embarrassing. Embarrassing.
I've got to latch myself onto some other second-rate midfielder next season, so I'm not sure.
Aaron Lewis, I'm coming for you.
I'm coming, Aaron. I'm ready.
Nick's going to grow a mullet.
The thing is, we're never going to get the retained list before the end of the season. So unfortunately, as much as we'd love to, we're not going to know, are we? And I think it's like Clive said, it's just we're not going to find out. it's just because we've had Quinny for that long. I think it'd be lovely that there was some form of send off, but I can't see it happening. But if he stays as a coach, then we will. But yeah, I can't see us getting the chance, unfortunately.
Simon in the comments, Cam says Quinn to be captain on Saturday. I'd do that for it. I don't see there's any reason why, if he does start, he shouldn't take the armband as a thank you. I think that'd be a subtle signal, wouldn't it? We've got the power on this podcast to make things happen. We made Dave happen, so we can make it happen.
Yeah, Quinn captain. I just think Quinn should be captain regardless. Just let him have that one game. Why not? Because Lewis Reed's been captain this season, and that was a disaster class most of the time. So he can't do any worse, can he?
Oh my God.
I'm speechless. I really am speechless.
I'm waiting for Clive just to say sentimental rubbish. I'm just waiting for him.
Listen, I'll be there clapping him off if I was there. I'm not going to be there on a Saturday, unfortunately, because I'm in Scotland. But
scouting for players from Inverness.
Yeah, that's right. The lad's been a great servant for 3 years or whatever long he's been with us, and he's a talisman, and he wears his heart on his sleeve. He gives Craig something to attempt to do an impression of, and I think the thing is, you don't find players like that very easily, and his experience.
Get out. Absolutely get out. Shocking.
The power's gone to his head.
Oh dear!
Give him a few switches, a few graphics. He thinks he's Donald Trump.
Oh dear! Right. Oh, talking of power and talking of things that I can influence and do. So can you be the master or an embarrassing disaster? In this guessing game, there's a simple aim. It's outguess the rest and be the best. Win, lose or draw. Do you know the score? Who will be your hero to make sure you don't score zero? Yes, it may be fiction, but this is Podcast Predictions. Now, all season long, you've been thinking, when's Craig going to throw a curveball into Podcast Predictions? We're all safe from madness because Ben looks after it. Well, we've got a final game to get to, which means that Craig can influence some Craigisms. More on that, though, in a minute. But first, let's find out the results from last night and take a little look at the table heading in to the final game. So last night, it was a great night, as we know, and a win normally means more points. But last night, there was double points on offer as well. And the winner of match number 45 was Dave S., who picked up 32 points. The reason? Well, he was the only player that picked Evans, which bagged him 28 points. Normally, Christy Pym is usually a popular choice for people picking as captain too, but everybody must have had some inside information, as there was only one person who chose him last night. In terms of player points picked up, Evans picked up 14, Maris, or should I say Giorgio Mauricio, picked up 11, Bacchus and Reed picked up 8, Dwyer got 6, Uncle Stephen and Jordan Bowery got 5 apiece, Dave got 4, the Hiram Boateng fan club got 3. Cargill, Hewitt, McLaughlin all got 2. Flint, Rhodes, Vickers and Mason got 1. And it was -5 if you selected anybody else. But what about the table going into the final game of the season then? Let's have a little look, shall we? And see who is where when it comes to match number 45 and the final table. Let me have a look on my phone then. So, let's give you a shout out. Here are the points that everybody is on. Phil, -5. Philip Jess, -3. Roger, -3. Frank Everington, 1. Jamie 1, Matt Webb 2, Wonderwaller 13, 3, Tim Taylor 4, David C 4, Johnny Rotten 4, David C2 4, Canny Warsop and Robbie MTFC also 4. Lee Nicholas got 5, as does James Dixon. Do you know what? I'm going to just go right up into the middle of the mix here. And I'm going to go from around, I'm just going to go for the top 10. I will publish the full table later on, just because there's so many names. We've got so many things to get through. So please forgive me. For the top 10, going into the final game of the season, last season's champion, Fathead, is outside the top 10 on 330. In at 10, Kiwi Stag on 343. JS on 344. David C on 358. Keeley of Her Game 2 Fame 360. Ian Brown on 364. In at 5, Dan Bauer on 365. A previous leader in Alan Wilson. In 4th with 410. Steve Nadin, also a former leader, now on 411 in 3rd. 4 points separate 1st and 2nd. In 2nd, on 416 points, it's our Clive Parkin, and leading the way on 420 going into the final game of the season, it's Darren Wood on 420. The Mansfield Matters table, Nathan Edge is 7th on 51 points, Cam in 6th on 147, Jim in 5th on 195, I'm in 4th on 292, Nick's on 311, and as we know, 6 points in it between Alan and Clive. Alan on 410 and Clive leading the way with 416 at the top of the table. Right then, we're going to go to our predictions in just a second. Now, will it be double points? Nah. Will it be triple points? Nah. We scored 4 goals last night, so let's have quadruple points for the final game of the season. And if you're thinking, Craig, that's absolutely mad, well, guess what? It gets madder because it's the return of the Golden Goal Gamble. I'm going to tell you about that in just a minute. Golden Goal Gamble then. We need something special for the final game of the season. So you will predict as normal. Obviously, everything is worth quadruple points. And then you have the option, if you would like to take part in the Golden Goal Gamble, where all you have to do is guess when the first goal of the game will be scored as per Alan Wilson's announcement from the PA box. That will be the official word. And you can gamble 25%, 50%, 75%, or 100% of your overall points for all 46 games. So you could double your overall points. But if you gamble and get it wrong, whatever you've staked, whether that's 25, 50, 75 or 100%, you will lose all of those points if you gamble. So, are you mid-table? Are you a little bit like me and you're thinking, I need to potentially boost my points pot to get up there? Or are you top and you're thinking, I need to hold my nerve and stay firm? That is the Golden Goal Gamble. Nick, thoughts on the Golden Goal Gamble?
I am horrifically behind, so I might just guess at a random minute in the game. It's probably the only tactic that could topple, the wise old owls at the top of the tree. Now,
one of those is Alan Wilson. Are you potentially going to risk it for a biscuit, or are you going to hold your nerve? What are your thoughts? What are you thinking? Don't say what amount if you are, but what's your thoughts on the Golden Goal Gamble?
Good idea, but I'll let you know what I think when it's time.
Cam, you're down there in the doldrums.
I mean, I don't think I'll risk it because I'm not going to finish last. So I've got nothing to gamble for.
I'm not going to ask Clive because he'll say it's something like ridiculous and the power's gone to his head and then I'll have to kick him out again and I can't be bothered. So I'm just going to get the guesses in, shall we? So one final game, and let's start like this then. Nick, you are up first. I need your normal prediction first, please.
3-1 Stags.
And your fantasy captain?
Evans.
Alan, your normal prediction, please.
2-1 Stags win. Giorgio Mauricio.
Cam, normal prediction only, please.
2-1 Stags win, and Keanu Bacchus.
Clive, normal prediction first, please.
I'm predicting a goal fest. So I'm going to say Mansfield Town FC 7, Exeter City FC 3, and the hero that will prevent me having 0 is Evans.
Wow.
I am going to go that we're going to go out on a high. I am going to go for 5-3 win. And I am going to go for... I'm going to go Evans. I think he's going to be determined to get a hat-trick and get at least 15 goals this season, improve his goal tally. Now, it's time for the Golden Goal Gamble. Nick, do you want to participate in the Golden Goal Gamble?
I may as well.
How many points? 25%?
All of it. All of it.
100%? You're going all in?
Yeah, finished. Yeah, you've got to go all in, haven't you? You've got to go mad.
Right. Give me a number. Give me the minute, please.
Because I reckon Alan will shout out, because the quiz was not when the goals is scored, it is whatever Alan shouts out the PA
No,
box.
no,
Correct me if
it
I'm wrong. Well,
you are
said
wrong. You are wrong.
rules stated whatever minute Alan confirms out the PA
don't
box.
make me
So
make
if
it
I pay
red.
him £100, he will shout the 12th minute.
No, it is when
12th
it
minute.
is when the first goal of the game is scored, which I did say, as per what Alan shouts out. So I heard 12.
Thank you, Alan.
I'm going
Please shout the 12th minute. Thank you.
12th minute. Alan, are you going to participate in the Golden Goal Gamble?
No, I'm going to stick. Thank you.
Okay, Cam, Golden Goal Gamble.
Yeah, go on, then.
Stake.
No, I'm going to gamble.
Yes, but what stake? 25, 50, 75,
All of
or
it.
100? You're going all in?
All of it.
Yeah, I'll go all in.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what we like.
Give me a number.
11th.
Oh,
Clive,
Oh.
are you going to participate in the Golden Goal Gamble?
I'm not.
Okay.
rubbish.
It will come as no surprise to you that I am going to participate in the Golden
Yeah.
Goal Gamble. However, I'm going to play tactically here. Nick and Cam have both gone all in. Now, I know I'm not going to win the entire league, but I could at least win the Mansfield Matters League by doing this, or at least finish above Cam, which is the aim. So I'm only going to stake 25% of my points. And I'm going to go for the 8th minute.
Oh.
If you want to play along with podcast predictions, maybe even for the first time, the link that you need is in the description. So play along, and we will reveal the final table in a couple of weeks' time when we do our traditional end of season podcast. All the rules and everything that you need are on that link. So please do feel free to get involved and play along with podcast predictions. And who knows, you could be the winner. And speaking of winners, have you participated yet in the end of season awards? We've put the link live today. So following on from our nominations last week, click the link in the description and submit your votes for the end of season awards, which voting ends on the 10th of May. And we will reveal the winners after that. There's also the option to submit some feedback about the podcast, your likes, your dislikes, what you'd like to see next season, etc. And of course, that coveted vote for podcaster of the year. Hashtag don't vote Cam. It's as simple as that. Right. It's time for a final. So I've hidden Clive and Alan backstage so they can still hear us. But, of course, the final is between Nick and Cam. It's going to be exactly the same as it was before. It's going to be a penalty shootout style quiz. To determine who goes first or second, I'm going to bring back very, very briefly Mr. Alan Wilson, as you, unfortunately, Alan, picked up the wooden spoon in this competition. So who would you like to have set A and who would you like to have set B of the questions?
Well, I think being as how he went last week, I think Nick will have A, Cam will have B.
Okie dokie. Thank you, Mr. Wilson. I'm going to pop you backstage and it's time to play the Let's Get Quizzical final. So, Nick, you're up first. I must accept your first answer and your first answer only. In which year did McDonald's first open in the UK?
Bloody hell.
Terrible man.
1983.
Incorrect. It was 1974. Cam, your first question. In which year did the first KFC open in the UK?
1984.
Incorrect. It was 1965. 0-0 after the first question.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
In Preston,
okay.
would you believe? Nick,
Okay.
what is the largest bird in the world?
The largest bird. Ostrich?
Is correct. 1-0, Nick. Cam, what is the name of the sea that's located between Italy and Tunisia?
The Mediterranean.
Is correct. 1-1. Nick, in which year did the film 4 Weddings and a Funeral make its premiere?
Never seen it.
Ah.
Bloody hell. 2006.
I can tell you, Nick, that 2006 is an
not correct.
incorrect answer. It was 1994. Cam,
What?
to go in front. In which part of your body would you find the cruciate ligament?
In your knee.
Correct. 2-1.
2
Nick.
weddings in a funeral and wait, like, you know, what's in between your foot and your backside? That's a terrible question.
Blame Alan. He chose the questions.
A valid
Nick,
point.
How many
Dave
fingers do you have, Cam? Oh,
6.
rubbish.
Nick, Dave Grohl is the frontman of which rock band?
Oh.
Foo Fighters.
Is correct. 2-2. Cam, in which year was Heinz established?
Oh, God.
1967.
Incorrect. 1869 was the answer.
18? No, they weren't having beans back then. Not having
It's
it.
2-2. It's sudden death. Nick, which of the famous Bronte sisters wrote Jane Eyre?
Emily.
Incorrect. It was Charlotte.
Of course it was.
Wouldn't have a clue.
Of
To
course it was.
win, let's get quizzical. Who was the first person to win? Sorry. Let me give you.
How many
the
ears
question
have you
correctly.
got?
Let me give you the question correctly. Cam, to win, let's get quizzical. Who was the first woman to win a Nobel Prize?
What the? Marie Curie? No idea.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 5 harrowing penalties apiece, I can confirm And I'm really annoyed that Cam Felton is the winner of Let's Get Quizzical! It was
Rubbish.
indeed Marie Curie. Oh, I'm
Let's
so
go.
sorry. Oh,
Where is
dear.
it? What the cruciate ligament? That's horrific. That is. I've got the Brontes. I've got ostriches.
I have number one.
Unbelievable.
I have number one.
Alan, Nick is not happy with you, is he?
Rubbish.
No,
Can I
sorry.
just say that the winner was 100 years out on the Heinz question. I think he should be barred.
I was only 7 years off 2 weddings and a funeral, or whatever it was called.
Oh, dear.
Well
The
done,
answer
Cam.
to most of these questions were like either the person was relevant before I was born, or it was just long before I was born.
Listen, it's the luck of the draw.
And
I
wouldn't-
think that was fair. I gave Alan the opportunity to
You
as
did.
the wooden spoon
You
winner
did.
to
And he
pick the
stitched me up.
questions.
Thank
And
you.
to be fair, Nick, listening to the questions which Cam got, would you have done any better with set B?
No, I would have got the last one, Marie Curie, but that was it. The others were just a complete and utter guess.
So there you go. There you have it. That is almost it for the silly games, but there is one other thing which the supercomputer is itching to play.
Content loading. Selecting game. Game selected. Players stand by.
Snosh, yes, the system malfunction. The other seat.
Now, earlier on, you heard Clive mention that he has a hamper for Alan Wilson, and we all decided it'd be a fun idea to guess what's in Clive's hamper. So, Clive, I'm going to give you a minute to have a little look in that hamper, and I'd like you to give us the first letter of each item that is in the hamper. We're then going to have 1 minute to guess what items are in that hamper. So, Clive, if you could have a little bit of a look, and then give us the first initials. Pick 3 or pick 5. You don't have to do them all. Just pick as many as you want. Just give us those initials of what's in there, please. Just the first letters.
I'm going to give you all a clue because there's a theme to the hamper. It's time for tea.
Okay.
So the first. Who gets the
Well,
first
if you
question?
just give us the initials, we'll then all write down what we think it is, and then we'll take it in turns, and we'll see who's got the most, if that makes sense.
Right. Well, the first one is
Okay.
T.
So the letter T. Yep.
yeah.
Thanks.
Then there's a B.
Yep.
Yeah, I've got the. I think I might be all right with this.
Yeah.
There's an
Yeah.
L.
An L.
There's a P.
Yeah. One more. Okay.
G.
Gee.
Everyone, I'm going to put you on mute, and I'm going to give you. You're going to have 1 minute to write down your guesses for what could be in Clive's hamper. You've got 1 minute, and it starts now. Thirty seconds. Okay, time is up. Right. First person to have a guess is going to be me. So, Clive, if you want to just tick or make a note of how many I get right, and then we'll do that for everyone else. So I'm going to guess. He's got a pen. I'm going to guess. Don't say yes or no. Obviously, just tick. I'm going to go for tea bags, biscuits, Lotus biscuits, PG tips, and Garibaldi's. Nick.
I have got tea, biscuits. I've gone for a very lovely linen napkin. I've got nothing but P, so I've put pineapple. And ground coffee for G.
Cam.
I went with tea, biscuits, Lotus Biscoff, and Garibaldi's. I couldn't figure out the P.
Alan Wilson, it's your hamper. What are you going to be receiving? What's your guesses?
I've gone for tea, biscuits. Couldn't think of anything with the L, so I put lemon curd, beef preserves, and G. I thought there might be a bit of cheese in there with gorgonzola.
Clive, who's got the most correct answers?
Well, the winner with 1 point.
No way.
Oh, actually, it's a two-way. It's two-way. I'm not accepting biscuit because it's too
Okay.
generic. So, but Craig, you got one, and Cam got one. Shall I show you
Yes,
what
please.
you could have
Oh,
won?
please.
Yes, please.
Oh.
Let's look at what you could have won. Right. The big box at the front has got a teapot in it.
Oh,
Oh,
That's the tea.
nice.
Ah,
What's the next letter?
B.
hey.
B. Biscoff.
Oh, quality.
Next one.
Ow.
Was it L,
L.
wasn't it? Yeah.
L. Lou biscuits. French biscuits.
For a minute, I thought you said lube. Not going to lie.
Well,
We've got
whatever,
P.
whatever glides smoothest.
P.
Huh?
P.
What's next?
P.
P.
P. P for priest and parking
P.
parish.
Oh, a pack of penguins.
Oh,
Hey.
Who's put a pack of penguins in there?
G.
The G, for some reason I don't understand, there's a glass,
Huh?
a drinking vessel.
Well,
There you go.
I'm looking forward to
So-
that, Clive.
Alan, you're the only winner.
Yes, you are the only winner, Alan. Do you know what? Well, Alan, you're not the only winner. Do you know what? Because tonight, in the penultimate episode of the series, everyone's a winner because it's time for the final instalment.
Content loading. Selecting game. Game selected. Players stand by. What's in Craig's bucket?
Three questions each. It's going to go Nick, Cam, then Alan, and then if he pops back up, Clive, but he won't. Oh no, he is there. He did his usual. I like this game. Nick, Cam, Clive, and then Alan. 3 questions each. What's in Craig's bucket? No clues. Yes, no, or maybe. You know how it works by now. Let's go.
Is it a problem if this item gets wet?
Yes.
Is this an item that you can buy from a supermarket?
Yes.
Is it edible?
Yes. Clive.
Oh.
Is it savoury?
Oh.
This is probably where I'm going to trip you up because I don't know the definition between sweet and savoury. But yes.
Is it sugary or is it sausage
Oh,
rollery?
sugary.
So it's sweet.
Oh, sweet then. Yeah.
Nick.
Is it something that you typically find in a restaurant on a menu?
No.
Would you find said item down a biscuit aisle?
You very much would. Clive.
Hold on, no.
Alan next.
It's supposed
Excuse
to
me.
be clockwise on my screen, but go on, Al. You've mucked my system up, but go on.
Would you find it if you went to, say, Blackpool in a rock shop?
No.
Okay.
Clive.
Does it snap if you break it?
Yes. Although it would take some doing with this particular one.
Oh.
Nick.
Oh, that's throwing me a bit.
Last question.
That's thrown me a bit. Does it come in a yellow packet?
Quite often, yes. But not exclusively. Cam.
I have no idea.
I mean, either.
No idea. Is it a supermarket own brand or is it a branded label?
You can get particular ones of this. This particular one is a supermarket's own version. Alan.
Is it singular?
No. Clive.
Is it titanium custard cream?
Would everybody now like to guess what's in Craig's bucket? Nick, what's in Craig's bucket?
I was going to go for a 1/43 scale metal custard cream. No, custard cream. That's the all I could think of.
Cam.
I was thinking rich tea biscuits.
Cam. Absolutely not. No. No.
Has he ever met you
Alan.
before?
Alan.
I'm going a packet of custard creams.
Clive.
Chocolate hobnob.
The correct answer is fucking rich tea. Not bad. It's a packet of M&S Mega Bag Custard Creams. That's what's in Craig's bucket. So I think everybody bar Cam got it right. And for saying rich tea, I'm deducting him 5 points off of his games total this year, which means he finishes on 0. I think that's a fair reflection. That is all we've got time for tonight. This is the last podcast virtually of the season. We won't be back until probably the 11th of May. Stay tuned to our social media to find out when. You have until the 10th of May to submit your guesses and your submissions, for the end of season awards. So please do go and do that. We'd love to get your feedback and get you involved. That is all we've got time for on tonight's Mansfield Matters podcast. Thanks so much for joining us as ever for a little bit of FOURward planning. We'll be back possibly on the 11th of May. We'll let you know on our socials. Make sure you get involved with the end of season awards. And indeed, podcast predictions for the final game. Are you going to take the golden goal gamble? Will you end up being a winner from absolutely nowhere? We'll see you soon on the show for the fans, by the fans. Why? Because Mansfield matters. And on Saturday, please stay off the pitch. Even if you do hear Alan Wilson shout